Okay. All right. Hello, hello. Welcome to our thyroid hormone reset day 3. I'm super excited to be here with you and just dive into this journey, continuing to level your health and really understand what's at the core of creating permanent transformation, right? We're all about improving your hormone, your mood, your gut symptoms, all the things that kind of hold you back and make you feel not so great in your body. We are helping you have a game plan to unpack that, to build health and to supercharge your energy, your vitality, because that translates into wealth and abundance in every area of your life. So today we're going to be diving into step number 4 in our system, which is all about resetting your thinking. And before we get started, as always, I'd like to have a moment for have us get grounded, get centered. We talk so much about the nervous system, and this is intentionality. This is how we start to amplify and have our nervous system work with us and for us. So I invite you, if you're available, to go ahead and close your eyes or take a soft gaze and start to breathe deeply, feeling your abdomen expand, your rib cage expand. And as you exhale, maybe soften your shoulders, sink a little deeper into your chair, feel your sit bones, really getting connected with the surface that you're sitting on. Another deep breath in, breathing in and amplifying that energy possibility. As you exhale, just let any distraction, any other items on your list or your agenda for today, anything else gets to be put to the side. I really invite you to tune in here fully. 2 more deep breaths, breathing in, filling up the rib cage, feeling that expansion. And as you exhale, just imagine that energy, that oxygen infusing every cell in your body, lighting you up, supercharging your energy. And one more deep breath in, and I affirm simply bringing in possibility, bringing in expansion, bringing in vitality. By being here, either live or watching the recording, as a result of your time, energy, and focus, you are guaranteed the transition, guaranteed a transformation, an up level in your health. And anything that's holding you back or has held you back to date gets to be destoried, dissolved, dismissed, diminished, and evaporated so that you can break through to your next level of growth, to your next level of health. All right, let's come together and take a moment. I'm so excited, like I said, to be here. We have great information to cover today. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to chime those into the chat. I definitely want to have this be as valuable and as supportive as possible. So please don't hesitate to drop anything in the chat. What's been coming up for you? I know, okay, so Anne's saying she definitely had some questions about some of the thyroid health we were talking about. When it comes to, okay, so for her protein, she's been working with some different base protein powders, and some seem to create a little bit more bloating than others. Okay, totally get that. Some women actually do have more sensitivity to whey-based proteins, especially if you have a sensitivity to dairy. So you may want to consider a plant-based protein if you're noticing an increase in bloating in general. And again, going back to the protein, amino acids are key. We definitely want to make sure we're getting enough amino acids in to support our thyroid health, to support our liver. Animal-based sources are great sources, but I understand that sometimes it's a matter of like we do the best we can with different conveniences and different, um, kind of personal preferences. So I definitely think, Anne, to try, and if you're using protein powder, try perhaps a different protein powder and see if that responds. Or there is actually one of my favorite brands is called Perfect Amino, and it's a powder, a small scoop. It's really highly absorbable amino acids directly. So that could be something to consider instead of the whole protein powder, which tends to have other ingredients in it as well. Okay, Tia over here is saying, thank you for taking questions. Wondering if anytime you will be talking about sleep, how to fall asleep and stay asleep through the night. Yes, actually, Tia. So I don't, and during this session, we don't have a specific day dedicated only to sleep. But what we're talking about today is going to play a large part because oftentimes sleep is a balance of a combination, right? It's hormones when we're talking about melatonin is required to have good, sustainable sleep. And melatonin acts as an inverse to cortisol. So at the end of the day is when ideally your cortisol levels are the lowest and melatonin is the highest. And then throughout the night, melatonin hopefully stays steady and strong and then starts to diminish as cortisol peaks in the morning for that cortisol awakening response. So the balance and fluctuation of hormones is really important for melatonin and cortisol. Another thing that's important to have us have a relaxed and peaceful mind. I know I work with a lot of women who have like, and I used to have like what I would describe as like wired but tired. Like my brain wouldn't shut off. I just had all these like compulsive thoughts about things I was worried about or overwhelmed, my to-do list, different things like that. It's like almost like it was, I felt like my thoughts drove me. And that can happen when we have an imbalance of what's called glutamate, a specific type of excitatory neurotransmitter, and not enough GABA. GABA is a calming neurotransmitter. There, again, certain amino acids like taurine is actually helping to promote GABA. GABA, taurine is an amino acid that's found in things like turkey and eggs. It helps to bring the balance of those neurotransmitters in the brain into balance. So a lot of it has to go with our nourishment, how we're nourishing ourselves. And then today, what we're going to be talking about is our thoughts and how we can support the nervous system because nervous system regulation is really critical for our thoughts. So come back to me at the end if you have more questions, but hopefully today, with some of the things we're going to be talking about, that will help answer some of your questions about sleep. So thank you for bringing that up, Tia. And without further ado, let's dive into our training, our learning for today, because there is a lot that I want to share with you. And excited to have you be here. So today is all about, we've talked about the root cause, right? We've talked about looking at your hormone assessment to see what your symptoms are signaling to your body. And then we also talked about replenishing those nutrients, just like I talked about specific nutrients that your body needs for hormone synthesis, for neurotransmitter synthesis, different things like that. Yesterday, we talked about restoring digestive fire. And when our body is in that relaxed, parasympathetic rest and digest and absorb state, it can do a better job of navigating our digestive processes and even releasing certain enzymes that help to break down the food so that they can be adequately absorbed. It helps to support the gut balance. And today we're talking about reset thinking because this is really, really paramount when it comes to our duration, really the sustainability of our health. So, like I said, what we've covered so far is the root cause of your hormone signals, the hormone assessment. Day one, we also talked about increasing your confidence and how to nourish your cells with a simple and sustainable one-hand meal plan, PFFV approach. Yesterday, we talked about improving your digestion and we identified specific why bother blocks, why we have, really the only way that I always think the only way that your health doesn't continue to optimize is if you don't continue to have choices that support and build health. And the reason we don't continue, oftentimes, like we have the best of intentions to start a new fitness plan or to start Whole30 or to start something, but then it's not sustainable, right? The only reason we don't continue is because we typically come up against some resistance, some of the why bother blocks that we talked about. And then yesterday we talked about what's our new alter ego, what's that new vision, that new version of ourselves that we can remind ourselves and come back to keep that momentum building forward. And then today we're going to be talking about the neuroscience of how to rewire your brain for consistent practice of these new decisions that help to support your health. So reset your thinking. Let's take a look at again here, this reminder of the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, thyroid, and gonadal axis, the HPATG axis. And this is representative. I think what's valuable here is they all sync together, right? Nothing works independently in the body. especially when we talk about hormones and mood and emotions and our neurotransmitters. But what's at the very top of this cascade is the hypothalamus, and that's really what's interpreting our thoughts and our beliefs and our perceptions about the world. In other words, it's the meaning that we're giving to what's happening. So that's really what starts the cascade to then signal and trigger down to the rest of the body about the adrenals. Do we need to fight or flee? Or is everything a-okay and we can chill out and relax? To the thyroid, do we need to support our metabolism and be ready to go? Or is it worn out? It's like, oh my gosh, conserve, conserve. We don't know. We live in a place where we don't have enough nutrients every day. So we have to hold on to what's coming in. Oftentimes people, most of the women, I will say most of the women I work with as they're releasing weights are actually eating more. They're being more intentional and eating more volume of nutrient dense foods so that their cells do get the nutrients to kickstart their metabolism. But it goes back to life is about 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. I love this quote by Charles Swindoll. Because again, our thoughts are what's leading the show. And I want you to remember that amazing transformation is possible and it's predictable. It really is. Our client Amanda lost 25 pounds when she really put these steps that we're talking about into practice. And it's not about necessarily continuing to try new and different things. It's about finding some strategies that are specific to you and sticking with them so that you see the result. Your body, your nervous system starts to trust, like, hey, she's not faking me out. This is the real deal. This is how life is. And so I can trust it and I can relax, right? She knew which specific foods her body needed for antioxidants, vitamin C, iron, and really understood how her body worked together. So that's inspiring. Or Debbie, who lowered her blood pressure, lost 8 inches, really added more clients to her private practice. So she was able to increase her income. We talk a lot about how wealth and health have a direct correlation. When you invest more time, energy, and money into your health, it ends up giving you more time, energy, and money to add wealth to all areas of your life, whether it be financial wealth because of income potential, savings on medical procedures, increased productivity, and most importantly, wealth in your experiences, wealth in your relationships, wealth in how you show up in enjoyment in your life. So today we're going to be talking about your amazing, awesome brain and how cool it is. The complexity, the brain has 100 billion neurons in it, and they're bathed in soup of hundreds of chemicals and neurotransmitters and hormones. So there's like tons of stuff happening all the time in our brain, right? And the cool thing is your brain is capable of processing about 11 million pieces of data every single second. 11 million pieces of data. That's tremendous. It's kind of confounding, actually, to even understand. However, out of those 11 million pieces of data, you are only consciously aware of maybe 40. That's if you're really tuned in. So what does that tell us? There's a tremendous gap in terms of what's coming in, what your brain is processing and synthesizing and making sense of, and what you are aware of. And I'll give you an example. If you are right now in this moment, you're probably listening to my voice, maybe reading the words on the screen. You may not, until I think about it, until I mention it, you're probably not consciously aware of the feel of the sock touching your foot, right? You're not consciously aware of the temperature of the air going in as you breathe, unless you tune into that, unless you put your focus there. So there's so much data coming in about what we're feeling, what we're hearing, what we're smelling, what we're tasting, what we're touching, that we're not paying attention to. It's unconscious, right? But the brain is synthesizing all of that information to keep you safe and to make sense of your world. So your perception matters. What you put your focus on matters in a tremendous way. And the world you perceive is only a tiny little subset of the whole and complete picture because you're only aware of 40 pieces of information, but there's really 11 million pieces, and that's in every single second, right? This means the people, the circumstances, the situations, and the events in your life as you understand them to be are much more significantly about what you expect to experience rather than the whole and complete truth about the situation or the event, right? Because there's so many other factors that you're not even tuned into unless it's something that comes from your recent history because it's something that you're focused on. So, how does that influence our hormones, right? Because this has to do with hormones, Amanda. Well, this is how. Because learning the skill set of managing your emotional state is absolutely, undeniably critical to up level your health. And here's how it works. When your environment controls you, when something happens in your, and I'll give a beautiful example of Kasia. Kasia is a client that we literally just had a session this morning, our group met, and she was saying how, I'm going to go back to this slide, but I just want to come off here. She was saying how for her, she's got a toddler, a little kid at home. He's really cute. And for months and months, his toys out or his little water cup sippy would drive her crazy. Like she'd come home from work and just be depleted and just be in the sense of like, oh my gosh, this is like overwhelming. Why can't our house ever be picked up? It's always a mess. And it would cause her overwhelm. It would cause her anxiety. It would cause her frustration, right? Those are negative emotions. Clearly, we just saw from your thoughts, the way she's interpreting her environment is creating frustration, which then signals to that whole HPTG axis, whoa, this isn't a good environment here. Things not safe, even though it's not dangerous. But from a hormonal perspective, the inside of her body doesn't know that toys on the floor is not dangerous. It's just getting the message of not good, not good, not good. This is a problem. Houston, we have a problem, right? So it's shutting down her hormone axis. What she shifted was still have some of his toys out, still have his little sippy cup out, but she really, when we talked about it, like, what's a new perspective? What's a perspective that can support you? She's like, you know what? It's proof of life. It means he's engaged in his life. He's out and about. He's playing with different things. He's learning. He's exploring. Like, think about it. And I said, I gave her the perspective of like, my kids, my youngest is 13. I have two. I have one in college and one going off to college next year. Like, my house doesn't have all of that little stuff around anymore, but it kind of, I know people say it, but it's like you don't miss it until you don't have it. And then you're like, wow, like they're all old and doing their own things, and we don't have that precious time together. So it's a shift in perspective. It's a change in circumstance. So when you have your environment, when you're reacting to what's being presented in your environment with negative emotions like overwhelm or lack of feeling you have lack of time, lack of help, lack of knowledge, whatever it is, some type of negative emotion that causes physiological stress in the body, which decreases your hormone function, which leads to exhaustion, which then likely leads to another choice or decision that will cause you to be reactive in life to the next circumstance, right? Instead, what we want to do is to manage your emotion, your response to your environment. If you're responding, just like Kasia is responding now when she sees her toys out, and she's like, oh my gosh, like I bet I talked to the nanny, I bet he had a really fun day. Like, I wonder what they did today. And I can get curious instead of frustrated. Now, all of a sudden, a positive or curious emotion creates a different physiological response in the body, which builds your response, increases your hormone function and output, leaves you feeling energized, which allows makes it easier for you to respond to the next situation, right? So you can see how this becomes a cycle. And really, when we come to reaching our health goals, this is why we need to go back a couple layers deeper, because most people come to me and they're like, okay, I want the result. I want to lose 10 pounds, right? Or I want to get rid of my insomnia. That's the result I'm looking for. So what's the action I need to take to make that happen? What's the supplement I need to take to get that result? Or what's the food I need to eat or not eat to get that result, right? So they're looking to take the action to get the result. What they haven't not necessarily thought about is the preceding steps, the actual root cause. The root cause is, well, what always precedes every single action or inaction is your thought about that action or inaction. And what precedes the thought is your emotional response. And what precedes your emotional response is your nervous system's set points. This is what we're going to be talking about today. How much capacity does your nervous system have to create a positive or at least a neutral emotional response given a variety of situations that can be presented in your life? Do you have a really limited capacity, like everything has to be going according to plan and just the way you would prefer it in order to have a positive emotional response, which will lead to a positive thought and have you make a useful decision to act and create a result you want? Or can a whole bunch of variety of different things be happening in your life and you can still be curious and still be, okay, it's the best I can do now, given this circumstance, right? So how to have up-level health comes down to this equation: be, do, then you will have it. Most women think I just have to do. What's the thing I have to do? Tell me what to do so that I can have it. They're skipping who I need to be. And this is the work, right? This is the deeper work. We're talking about rewiring your nervous system, working on the identity work that we did yesterday with your alter ego. Who is your identity? How are you showing up? Right? The emotional metabolism. Again, giving space to, listen, it's not about faking it. It's not about diminishing your feelings. It's about recognizing your feelings and recognizing what they're trying to teach you, what they're trying to show you, so that you can metabolize those feelings and then upgrading your beliefs. When we do that work, and then we put it with the doing, learning some new health skills, maybe it's meal planning, nutrients, maybe it's what supplements your body needs now, what exercise is the right fit for you, getting good sleep, vitamin J, vitamin joy, all of those things. But when we do those from a place of first being the version of ourselves that we want, then it's a predictable equation. Then it's guaranteed you will have the benefits of improved health, of building health, even when life throws you a curveball. So how do you have up-leveled health? Well, first you have to think about your nervous system, because it has this range of regulation or range of tolerance, or range of capacity, you could say. That's when you can still make choices that are useful, beneficial, congruent, in alignment with building health. That's your ability to respond with conscious agency, AKA you're not reacting and freaking out, you're choosing, you're responding. When we update our nervous system point through signaling to our bodies that we are safe, even when we're experiencing something that in the past has sent us out of range of capacity, but we're still safe, that's how we change and upregulate our nervous system baseline, if you will, the set point. So an example of this is I have women tell me, often when they come to me, they're like, I have been able to do, in the past, I would be able to do Whole30, or I'd be able to do Weight Watchers, and I could drop the 15 pounds that I wanted to. And then now when I'm trying it, it's not getting the same results. So we start to look at, okay, what are some of the things that your body needs nutritionally, like we talked about in step 2, replenishing nutrients. We look at what are the core things your body needs nutritionally, and they're like, okay, I got a game plan, I'm really on top of it, I'm getting my digestion in a good place, and I'm being intentional, but I'm not seeing the number on the scale change. And I'm like, great, you're making progress. Because if the number on the scale doesn't change, and the only way you can respond with continued commitment and with continued prioritization of nourishing your body is to see an immediate response, then you haven't changed your nervous system at all. Sometimes we need to have it still feels safe. I'm still doing the right thing. This is still valuable. This is still worth it. We upregulate our nervous system capacity. And now the nervous system trusts that we're not conditional. This is actually who we're being, and this is how we're going to nourish ourselves for the rest of our life, not just to get a quick fix. Does that make sense? Right? Like, I'm willing to do this because this is who I am, and this is how I prioritize my health and my vitality. It's important enough for me to make these choices of how I live my life, regardless of what the number on the scale is. I'm not just doing it for the number on the scale. And when you can detach that, when you're actually free because you're doing it because it's who you are and it's how you choose to live, then the number on the scale changes, right? But it's like we're responding, we're still telling our body we're safe, even if it, quote unquote, doesn't seem to be working as fast as we want it to be working. That's the change. Usually requires support, right? That doesn't, sometimes we tend to lose confidence. We tend to doubt ourselves. We tend to have skepticism. Right. So going back here, we're going to look at how to recognize if you have some signs of nervous system dysregulation. So usually it can swing back and forth or land on one side, either hyper responsive, or especially when it comes to food and nourishment and health, or hypo unresponsive. So hyper means you're like almost doing too much to try and help your body. So this is the merry-go-round of diets. I've tried this and I've tried that and I've tried this. Always busy, feeling anxious. You're diligent about your workouts, compulsive, almost mindless eating. You're hyper aware or even scared of certain foods. Trying to do it all, medication, therapy, supplements, doctors. This was me. I'm trying to do it all to fix my autoimmune condition, but it was not working. It's because I was in hyper reactivity mode, right? Google everything. Never, you feel like you never have enough time. I just don't have time. I don't have time. You're always constantly like just flitting around. Jump into more action and have trouble staying focused. So if any of these relate to like how you feel or what you're experiencing, first of all, no judgment. It's awareness, right? We can't change what we don't know, but that's a signal to your body is saying, hey, like let's let's hold on, let's create some space and let's get grounded here because you're hyper dysregulated. Now, hypo, the other side, is when it's like not enough action, right? Where we're avoiding meal prep, where it's hard to get started with exercise. You don't follow through on the things that you know would be good for you, but you just can't get yourself to actually do them, take action. You feel chronically overwhelmed every single day. It's like, oh my gosh, I have too much. I have too much. I can't handle this. I have too much on my plate. Procrastination, vegging out on Netflix or Instagram or whatever, kind of just use that as like a soothing strategy. Use food to soothe. Sometimes we do that. Feeling depressed and disconnected from your body's needs or putting everyone else's needs before your own. Like you're not putting yourself on the to-do list, on the priority, on the calendar, right? Everyone else is more urgent and needs things before you. This is totally me. Like I literally, I have been both of these and can still see myself like when I get out of balance, it's like these signs, one or the other, start to surface. And that knowing them, being able to recognize it as a sign of like, okay, I get to have some support here. I get to bolster my nervous system because my nervous system is dysregulated. I'm not able to show up in the way that would be useful to build health. So I like to invite you to think about checking in with your health baseline. What is your baseline, kind of your nervous system, kind of where are you at when you think about it? So when it comes to your nervous system, when you think about your emotions, either that hypo or hyper responsive nervous system signs, that could be one way you can tell, or your emotions. What would you say if you think back in a typical 24-hour day, the last week, do you spend more moments in a place of contentment, ease, relaxation, eagerness, appreciation, positive emotion, some type of positive emotion, or more minutes, more hours in some type of negative emotion, feeling overwhelmed, feeling frustrated, feeling disappointed, feeling worried, right? Again, no judgment, just curiosity. Your emotions, your thoughts, and your beliefs. More often than not, when it comes to my health, I feel protective, worried, uncertain, or expansive, optimistic, confident, clear, right? Which one? P or E, protective or expansive when it comes to your health, your nervous system, your emotions, your thoughts, and your beliefs. When it comes to the way you manage your health, I fall more into the category of cat, kind of haphazard. When it happens, great. When it doesn't, life throws a curveball and I just kind of get disrupted. It's up and down or very systematized. I have a routine for my day. I know I have a morning routine, maybe. I know how to nourish myself. I think about my meals. I'm very thoughtful about that. I've got an exercise pattern and routine that works well for my lifestyle, for my body. I really am intentional about my mindset. Honestly, I think of it as like spiritual hygiene. I do certain practices every single day, including journaling in the morning, including a breath work practice in the middle of the day, including getting out for a walk and taking breaks to like literally have recharge points that get my mind right, if you will, because otherwise my mind can go off in some not so fun places. So do you have a system in place for these different things? A system around sleep, right? A system to set you up to have a good evening routine where we're starting to wind down, where we're preparing the body with the nourishment that it needs throughout the day to be able to synthesize those hormones and neurotransmitters, and also the choices that are helping to take stressors off your plate, to clear your mind, to ease even your exposure to light. We did a training on this 2 weeks ago with clients about when we're looking at blue light on our screens and our devices before bed, that's stimulating the brain. That's not calming the brain, right? So do you have a system around getting good quality sleep? So when it comes to your health, which is more accurate. And then when it comes to my physical health and symptoms, you generally experience discouragement, what you want, or vitality, right? My health is in a really good place. Again, curiosity. Where are you? When we think about this, filling in the first letter of each of your answers, either a P or an E, protective or expansive, when it comes to the inside, kind of the nervous system. When the do, what we're doing, what our skills are, what our actions are they chaotic or are they systematized, very clear and organized and routine? And then have, that's the result, what we get to have on the outside with our health, discouraged or feeling very vibrant and healthy. So D, V, C, S, P, E. Just jot down your initials. And oh, this is all in your workbook. I forgot. I'm sorry. I know it's in the email, but let me go ahead and put it into the chat because I forgot to do that earlier. If you haven't, we're on page, let's see, page 35 and 36 of the workbook today. So, oops, wrong way. So when you think about where you are on this empowered health leader pyramid, if you're ESV, expansive, systematized, and feeling very vibrant, you are leading your health. You're in a really strong place and know what to do. Great. If you have one of these other combinations, maybe ESD, ECV, or PSV, then that's like an emerging health leader. Hey, there's progress going. There's some things moving in the right direction. And it's a matter of like kind of honing in of which do I get to refine, which do I get to do more of. PCV, PSD, ECD, motivated health seeker. Okay, you know what? I definitely, there's some areas I definitely can use some more support and get some more clarity and maybe more systems in place, more skills in place to help me continue to get this trajectory. And PCD is definitely a passive health reactor. And here's the beautiful thing about being in this place of being a passive health reactor is that up until now, the fact that you're here, the fact that you're tuning in means you are already building more awareness. You're already learning about some new skills and tools. And usually women who are in that place have a higher degree of unwanted symptoms. So they have a higher degree of urgency to start to create transformation. Sometimes we have to get to that place of really strong discomfort before we're like, okay, you know what? Time for me to do something different and invest in my health. I'm going to get the support I need. So again, no judgment. All of these are absolutely appropriate. I have been in every single one of these places at different seasons of my life. And it's just a matter of clarity of where are you and where do you want to be? What do we get to fill in to help you step to that next level? So here are some tools of support. If you know for you, hey, it's more of that nervous system. I feel protective instead of expansive and confident and clear. Then the B area, mentorship, collaboration, giving light to the struggles that you're experiencing, using journaling to see the patterns that come up so that you can be aware of them and shift those patterns. Havening, that's another technique we teach our clients. EFT, emotional freedom technique. These are techniques and tools that can help you to balance the nervous system more consistently, right? Make me think like, hey, I feel really good. My emotions are good. My thoughts are really good, but man, my life is chaotic and I don't have very good systems in place. So I need some more of these doing things, the PFFV system with meal planning. Maybe I need some quarterly symptom review so that every quarter I've got a pulse on what my body is showing me. I'm actually paying attention. I'm stopping to notice. our 3-2-1 evening routine. Or maybe for you, it's taking specific customized supplements because you do a micronutrient test or you do a Dutch hormone test and you realize, like, holy cow, I didn't even know that my body needed some of these things. Maybe I need a specific strength training regimen or a workout routine so that you can start to build that lean muscle. We're going to be talking about that more tomorrow. And having some eating hygiene to make sure that digestion is really strong and breaking down foods. And then when we do that, both of those things, when we get to have the benefit from having really strong health. So I want to share that really every person is unique. You can certainly gain insights from experts, doctors, and specialists, yet the most important aspect of your health is to know yourself. It really is important because you are living in your body each and every day. And knowing yourself takes curiosity. It takes focus. And I venture a guess it takes, for many of us, myself included, a step-by-step plan that has worked for hundreds of other women to help you move past overwhelm, move past kind of put it off till later, and take this consistent action. Have a process, have a, like I said, a roadmap to be able to follow so you don't have to try and like come up with it on your own and not be certain where to start, what to do, what is a priority. And relying on symptom management is not adequate for hormone health optimization. It really, that's what I call like disease care. That's when we're just managing the disease. We're not actually building health. Those are two very different things, right? So I want you to think about having a predictable process for living with vibrant hormone health, where you feel really good consistently. And I'm happy to share a solution, an invitation for you. Who would like to share? And again, before we dive in here, who would like to share like what's been helpful about this 3-day experience so far in terms of insights that you're getting? Good, good. Okay. Connie is saying just learning and really being in the space. You think about it more, right? Yes. Yes, you think about it more. I mean, this, I can't tell you, like, we just had one of our group sessions this morning with my clients, and it's so useful, it's so beneficial to be in a community with other people that are prioritizing their health, that are on the same journey. Because listen, I get it. Sometimes like your family and your friends, great, great, they have the best of intentions, but they're not focused right now in the same way that you want to be focused to really create a shift. So seeing and hearing, Maria was sharing about like, how she was on vacation and then kind of went off and she's like, holy cow, I realized when I was around other family members, like no, inadvertently, they eat very differently. And I kind of just slipped back into it and just like recognizing how her body shifted and she's like, now I have a desire to go back to eating some of the healthy, nourishing choices that I was. And it's not always easy, right? But when we do it together, when we can recognize and support that process, I don't know. I don't know about you, but I always have more fun when I'm doing something not alone. And I'm always more successful when I have collaboration, support, accountability, loving accountability, and encouragement and learning. It's like, okay, it's meaningful. It's not just like drudgery of like, I have to make myself do certain things that I'm regretting or I'm sorry, I would just say dreading and not looking forward to. So if you're open to it, yeah, okay. So I hear people saying like, yeah, I'm definitely going to learn more. Let me share with you what it looks like to partner together. I do have just a few spaces. I have 3 spaces open for the rest of the month of April. And I'm actually doing something I've never done before. I'm going to be seeing it coming through emails and stuff, but I'm going to be sharing an Easter sale just for whatever reason. Like I've really dedicated, I've done a lot of spiritual work in the last several years, and I've really dedicated myself to saying like, God, show me how you want to use me. Like show me the women that are ready now to have a transformation in their health. And there's a lot of different dynamics going on in our world right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. So I want to be that bridge to create more certainty, more clarity. And for people who are like, I'm ready to have control, to feel more confident in my health, like now is the time. So I'm making it even more like there's a 45% savings. Actually, it will be the lowest investment between now and ever, the rest of 2025 to work with me. And doubling the support. So here's what that looks like a little bit more. I'm happy to share that. If you want support, if you had ongoing confidence, clarity, guidance, and inspiration to take action consistently, right? That is how you're going to have more energy. That is how you're going to sleep better and wake up feeling refreshed, feel eager, clear, and peaceful. Find that spark again in your life and increase your wealth. We know that we've already talked about this earlier this week, there's a direct correlation to wealth in all areas of life and your health. It's literally scientifically shown. Benefits of balancing your hormones naturally is to boost your energy and productivity with 3 or more hours every day, enjoy deep sleep, wake up feeling refreshed, expand your wealth and capacity in all areas of life, and release weight. That's the natural consequence. I would say, like, that's what most of us want first, but that's usually like that's the culmination of the other things getting attention and coming into balance. Your body naturally optimizes your weight when your hormones are in a better shape. And this is how the thyroid hormone solution program works. Just so you know. So again, we look at identifying the root cause. You get unique insights into what your body needs now in this season of your life. Because listen, what you need now is probably different than where you were even 5 years ago or 10 years ago, right? It's not a generic, like, here's a Weight Watchers plan, or here's a generic plan. It's looking at information from your body and really using that to customize. And then if you don't have it, oftentimes you lack clarity, which means you start to lack confidence in the approach that you're taking, which increases your results of giving up before you actually create the transformation. I mean, I see it all the time, right? So the next thing you get is replenishing nutrients pro, so that you can have a simple and sustainable system for easily finding meals that work for your body. I'm talking about Sarah today talks about how it's so helpful to have us do this review and break down. I give like pictures and things, and like, here's some recipes and here's some foods that your body, based on what we're seeing, needs more of. So, okay, I can make a grocery list and I can put these things on and I can find ways to incorporate them. And then you're being intentional. It's not just kind of haphazard and random, right? You can ditch the rigid
Monica,
elimination diets and the
you
meal
have a
plan.
better tone of voice.
Hello. You know what? I'm going to mute just to make sure we don't have any background noise. That lead to resentment and unhealthy relationship with food, because that's not sustainable for anyone. Pro, you can improve your gut health because it is the foundation of all health and a far greater impact on your mood, your energy, and your vitality. Con, if you don't have it, you probably don't have strong enough digestion to fully absorb the nutrients that you are eating. So even if you're choosing healthy foods, you may still be feeling depleted because they're not getting absorbed. And then we're talking reset your thoughts. Now you're making the connection with how your perception affects your hormone health. Rewire your brain to easily experience contentment, peace, and appreciation. Again, that changes that whole HPATG axis of connection. If you don't have it, that's when we step into imposter syndrome. That's when you have new challenges and trusting yourself to maintain healthy habits. What got you here won't get you to a permanent health improvement. And finally, removing toxins. We're going to be doing this more tomorrow. Learn and embody your ever evolving master level mindset using the neuroscience and clean living strategies to minimize triggers that disrupt health. If you don't have it, your body and your mind can inevitably become overwhelmed with inflammation, depletion, or blockage, which leads to chronic disease. I always offer this because I've done this often enough. And when you're thinking about creating a transformation to like really change your health permanently, so it's not just like a fad thing that happens for a couple of weeks and then you fall off the wagon, this is what you will need. And I kind of break it down. Like, I look at it as in terms of the 5 steps that our program is, but you can think about it like you need somebody to uniquely look at your health history and your symptoms and to know where your body is now. You need a personalized roadmap, as well as some functional lab work to assess deeper layers of, again, your body's current status and how to fill in the gaps. Another big thing is nutrition coach, so that you can have some specification of how to set your meals up. Obviously, we know food fuels every single cell in the body, right? nervous system regulation strategy, knowing like, okay, how am I going to get my nervous system to go back from that fight or flight all the time? So you've got tools and a strategy in place to help you with that. Oftentimes that requires a mindset coach too, right? Somebody to help you have a new perspective, to reframe where your limiting beliefs are holding you back or triggering the nervous system. Most of my clients utilize a couple of custom supplements. I'm not about supplement overload, but there are usually some specific things that can help to fill in the gaps easier for your body so you see notable change. Like I said, we often build in a movement plan for what your body needs to detoxify and to help you have all of the different areas. So again, here's all the components. When you think about, okay, what do I need to create this transformation? This is your roadmap to set you up for success. Now, in the Thyroid Hormone Solution Program, we provide that to you, right? So it's really this holistic approach. It's really the only health program that I know of on the market today that gives you 5 programs in one, because you get the functional medicine program support with the functional lab work, you get the nutrition support, you get the digestive support for your gut microbiome, you get the mindset support, as well as the detox. Yes, so we will definitely come back to you. Let's look at your thoughts. I will definitely take that as soon as I go through this, and let's make sure you get some thoughts on reframing your sleep for sure. Thank you for bringing that up. So again, just knowing that this is possible, I'm celebrating that I'm getting 7 full hours of sleep consistently. The practices and the tools you share have been really a game changer for me and have helped me let go of the guilt and the shame I used to feel. I now feel amazing. So this kind of is interesting that you just asked this question right before this screenshot came up. And oftentimes we have emotional, energetic relationships with sleep that are actually blocking our capacity to get good restorative sleep. That's exactly what this woman was working with. Morgan, what's her name? Another one. Hey man, I've been doing really well, lost a few more pounds. I'm so conscious of the healthy fats and nutrients I'm putting in my body. I love my system for meal plans and how it fits into my life. Another one. I'm feeling fantastic. No more afternoon slumps. I'm getting my workouts in the mornings and bloating is gone. Your inspiration and support has been so valuable. Here's what you get inside the program to take control of your health and be in the driver's seat and feel empowered because you understand your body and what it needs. So we meet for some private consultations to go over your body, to go over your symptoms, to go over your labs, to give you unique and customized plan for building health. And I don't believe in meeting once and then say, hey, 3 months. That's what happens typically when you go to a lot of functional medicine doctors. They run a bunch of labs, give you supplements, they come back in 3 months, and we'll retest. Guess what? That's not adequate to change the nervous system. It just doesn't work for the majority of people, myself included. We need more sustainability to look at those thoughts and those beliefs and those blocks and start to shift them. That's why we are in touch every week. So you're never alone. So you can make incremental progress. And when challenges come up, they will. You have support right away. You get that food, nutrient, lifestyle guidance and support, plus 10 live trainings with me where we dive deeper and really break these concepts down so that you can ensure lasting transformation and again, move past the blocks that are holding you stuck. In addition, we do a quarterly symptom review so you see real evidence of change. Like I said, it's not in your head, it's data driven. There are changes in the body that take place. And most of my clients, and I would say it's kind of a benchmark to have a 70%. Most of them have above a 70% improvement in a matter of months. Online training to understand why your health is the way it is and your step-by-step roadmap to create a shift. Plus, like I said, this functional lab work piece as well. So what's available for you is expanded vitality and an increase in wealth. This is what past clients have saved in the following years from our work together. Like we're literally talking tens of thousands of dollars in change. People always think like, oh, it's an investment of my time. It's an investment of money. I go, yeah, It's like an investment. Like if you have an investment portfolio, you put things where you want it to grow and to expand. You invest in your health where you want it to grow and expand your life. Absolutely. It will give you more in return when you show up for this process and this journey. And I definitely am all about, let's make this, like I said, I'm doing something I've never done before. Let's make this accessible to as many women that are looking for support now. When I invested in my health transformation, actually, I invested way more than this. I invested six figures in working with a lot of different therapies and modalities. This is what's standard. If you look in the marketplace, this is what's standard for people to get, the functional lab work, the nutrition support, um, learning, right? There's a learning component that goes with it. So you understand what's happening with, instead of just being told what to do. We know that that's surface level. It doesn't sustain accountability to implement the changes successfully, mindset or therapist to reframe those limitations that kind of get you stuck. Usually it's close to $9,000, 8,800 or more, right, for that. I definitely have a accessible difference here. So if you are ready to have a change, then I definitely invite you to apply to see if we're a fit to work together. And once you fill out this application, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat now. Once you fill out the application, you can also book a time for us to call. And I'm, like I said, anyone who books between now and I'm actually running it through Monday night, an Easter special, anyone who books a call, we find out you are a fit to work together between now, I just put it in the chat. Anyone who books between now and Monday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, if you are a fit and we decide like, hey, I feel absolutely confident I can help you reach your goals and you're ready for the process, then you are eligible for this 45% savings with double the support that's included. So if you're thinking about it, even remotely thinking about it, I say apply and see if this is a fit. Definitely want to make sure I answer. Tia had a question here specifically about any thoughts on, are you willing to unmute, Tia, just so I can talk with you about your thoughts, your sleep cycle? Sleep is what I need to heal, therefore I must sleep, but I'm not sleeping. So in order to heal, I need to sleep. It just feels like this spinning cycle. Are you able to unmute?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So tell me, so tell me a little bit more. What do you think is getting in the way of you sleeping?
I think definitely that busy brain.
Mhm. Okay, great. Just kind of the thoughts are going. So there may be a physiological component, right? When we think about what are the balance of the neurotransmitters and the serotonin levels and things like that. Obviously, you and I don't know that right now unless you've looked at that data. But what strategies are, if any, are you doing in the 1 hour before you lay your head on the pillow to go to sleep?
Uh, Definitely no screen time. Um, Depending on how tired I am, I might pick up a book, but typically I'm tired enough not to. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else I would need to mention, I guess.
Yeah, so okay, so I think some of it sounds to me like there is maybe some patterns. Do you notice that do you ever do any journaling or anything and notice that there are like certain patterns of what is running through your thoughts? Is it like a sense of like to-dos for the next day, a sense of worry about something, a specific situation? Is there any patterns or anything that you notice in general, or does it seem very random?
Definitely when there's something that is bothersome. I also notice when my schedule is different, when there's a change in my schedule.
Yes. Yes. Okay, great. So I think a couple things. It sounds like perhaps some systems you could benefit from creating systems of first what I call emotional metabolism, which is when we have like circumstances or events or conversations even that happen in life that trigger maybe a sense of like frustration or even regret or guilt or something that came up, right? Like I'm thinking for me, like if something came up with a daughter or I'm like frustrated by a conversation we had about our schoolwork or whatever, like in the past, that would kind of sit with me and I could just, it would spin and spin and spin instead of being able to have a process to metabolize it and release it, right?
That's true. And I think for some reason, the things that happen during the day don't bother me until it's nighttime.
Yeah.
So there must be,
Yeah. And that's not uncommon. I think sometimes because, and I don't know your life, but oftentimes for women I work with during the day, they're kind of just moving from one thing to the next. And it's kind of like I've got more things to accomplish or to get done, whether it be like driving and dropping off, finishing work, getting dinner made, da, da, da. Like it's all the things I'm doing. And then at the end of the day, it's kind of like the doing, the body stops, so the brain keeps going.
yes.
Does that resonate with you?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. If you're open to it, I will share, and you can tell me if this is helpful, try it, but I will share one of the, and again, emotional metabolism. Part of it is, and this is where I'm in dialogue with my conversation or with my clients weekly, because having, that kind of like reframe perspective is it's a skill set. It's a skill set to practice. But typically, what we want to think about doing is getting to the root of your needs so that you can calm your nervous system. Because the nervous system gets thrown out of whack when it feels like your needs are not being met. So when you have a situation or a circumstance from the day that's kind of running in your head, really trying to like, and I encourage you to write it out because I think there's something different physiologically that happens when we write something, even than just when we think through it or talk it out. But write out, I'm feeling blank. Insert what is the negative emotion? Is it worry? Is it overwhelm? Is it frustration? Whatever it is, I'm feeling blank, exhaustion, because the story I'm telling myself is. And that just it starts to open up like what are the deeper layers underneath it? Because oftentimes there's a need behind the emotion is there actually to serve you, right? It sounds silly, yeah, but I want to like think about it like this. When we have like if your hand touched a hot stove, it would kill and you would pull your hand away. But those nerve endings on your fingertips and the pain is there to serve you. It's there to say, hey, move your hand. Otherwise, your skin's going to keep burning, right? Think about your
Right.
negative emotions are doing the same thing. When you have a negative emotion, it's actually there to serve you because what it's trying to do is shine a spotlight on something that gets to be looked at. But if we don't know that and we just keep thinking the same negative emotion or coming at it at a different angle and keep thinking the same negative emotion, we haven't discovered what is the gift that it's trying to inform me about. Is this making sense?
Yes. So this question would identify what the potential root could be.
Exactly. So when you have thoughts, maybe, and a great thing could potentially do it for a week. And again, I'm not to say that this is for sure the one strategy that will work for you indefinitely, but I would say give it 5 days. Take a piece of paper, take a journal, and before bed, after you read, or maybe before you read or whatever, just jot down anything that's on your mind that you're worried about or stressed about, or anything that is coming up from the day. And then feeling blank, insert negative emotion because the story I'm telling myself is blank. And just keep
Okay.
writing it out. And then you want to challenge that story of like, well, is that actually true? Go back to the 11 million pieces of data compared to the 40 million pieces that we're actually aware of. Is that the whole and complete truth? Probably not. That's just the story that your head created. Does it make
Okay.
sense?
Okay. And this is probably more of the root than like the glutamate and the GABA, I would think for me. But how would you know if it was more the glutamate and the GABA issue?
Well, a couple of things. So we can, I mean, you can definitely do some looking at lab work, right? So we actually do look at like even your annual lab work to see if there are some indications of nutrients that are low, because we need certain nutrients to be able to synthesize those neurotransmitters, glutamate and GABA, right? So again, looking at it from a very core perspective of like, are the raw materials coming in to be able to make those things? But I would often say start with this if you or if you want to have a conversation, like have a conversation, we can do a deeper layer. But start with this tool to see if this starts to extrapolate. Because what you're doing is if the thoughts keep spinning, it's placing a higher and higher and higher demand on the body for certain nutrients, right? Because it's like you're
Gotcha.
putting a high demand because it's going to keep stressing. And this every time we're
Right.
stressing, it's increasing the demand.
Sure.
So the demand starts to become balanced when the thought pattern gets reframed.
Right.
Does that make sense? And or the
Yeah.
demand gets balanced when the supply is increased.
Sure. Sure. So if the demand gets lower, then the GABA and glutamate probably won't be an issue.
Hopefully not. Yeah. Hopefully you'll be able to bring it into balance, right? And then
Yeah.
obviously you want to be nourishing yourself whole foods, real foods, and good foods consistently. Also, it's not like don't eat and then just do the mindset work, but they go hand in hand, if that makes sense.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. All right, ladies, I get to jump because I have another session right now, but so great to see you and enjoy your day. We'll be here again for day 4 tomorrow, our last chance, and look forward to seeing you all. Bye.